Well, hello and welcome to our live webinar, How to Triple Your Bookings from Sportsman Shows. Today, we're going to talk about simple tricks and techniques that you can start using immediately that will make an exponential difference in the results that you get from your trade shows. So, who is this webinar for? Well, this webinar is for guides and lodges who are tired of spending endless hours on the phone trying to fill their boat for the next day, weeks, or if you're a lodge, the next year's fishing trips. This is for guides and lodges who has an income that is stagnated and they can't seem to increase it no matter what they do. And this is for the guide who's working 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day, and doesn't know how to break the cycle to take some time off. And finally, it's for guides and lodges that just want to take their business to the next level. My name is Ted Johnson, and the reason I'm doing this webinar is I really have a passion for fishing and for the fishing business. I've been in and out of it since about 1985. Most recently, for about the last 8 years, I've been a certified business consultant, and I ran an online business, and I consider myself an expert on online, offline, and mobile marketing. And you know what? I know it works, and I know what doesn't work. That doesn't mean you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but I've been through the ringer, and I've paid my dues, and I think I can share some things with you today that'll help you. So here's the 5 simple steps for a good trade show. First of all, you have to have a plan, and you have to have goals for each trade show. And this is done at least a month ahead of time, sitting down and deciding what you want out of a specific trade show. 2, setting the right image isn't just important, it's everything. You have to look professional, you have to look organized, and your image has to come through at the trade show for you to make it a success. 3, making friends is your focus. And making friends quickly is very, very important as you go through the myriad of people that pass by your booth. And then you have to promote your business and promote it in such a way that people will call you and book trips or follow up with what they've learned from you at the trade show. And finally, how you can then communicate and follow up with those leads to turn them into prospects who hopefully turn into clients. So let's start with plans and goals. At a 50,000 foot level, the main goal, of course, is to get as many new guests as possible and to get the contact information for as many leads and prospects as you possibly can. So here's the questions that you need to be asking as you're planning for the show. What do I want to promote at this show? Now, you as well as I have been to many, many shows, I'm sure, and there are just some booths that are confusing because they're promoting fishing trips, they're promoting hunting trips, they're promoting the fishing rods they build and the lures they make, and then somebody in their family is making jewelry out of whale bones and they're selling that also. And for an attendee of a trade show or a sportsman show, that gets very confusing. So figure out what you're going to promote and build your booth around that. How many prospects will visit my booth? You have a 4 or 5 day show and you don't bring enough business cards or you don't bring enough flyers, that becomes a real problem. So you have to kind of estimate how much collateral you need to bring. And I use the word collateral for business cards, flyers, and signs and that sort of thing. Also, what should I have as my special offer? Every show you should have some sort of special offer that you're promoting that's not on your website, that's just a special offer for the show that you're running. It doesn't necessarily mean a special price. You know, you could do a fly out if you're a lodge. You could add, a cap or even a jacket for someone that takes advantage of the offer there at the trade show. So think about what you're going to promote as your special offer. And then what do you hand out? What sort of flyers are you giving? Do you have any sort of little gifts? We'll talk about that more later. But make sure that you've got all that collateral set up, and what you want to promote has a lot to do with what you're going to hand out. And then, who do I need to contact and let them know I'll be at the show? Let's say that you're doing the Denver show, and last year you ended up with a lot of guests at your lodge from the Denver show. Well, it's really smart, as long as they had a good time with you, is to call them and invite them to the show and encourage them to stop by and see you. Remember the phrase, birds of a feather flock together. And how many people really come to a trade show all by themselves? Not many. And so if you're inviting your past clients and guests to come by the show and say hello, my guess is they're going to bring somebody with them that is of similar economic status, has similar interests and that sort of thing, and you might be able to pick up a few new guests or clients just by the guests that they bring when they come by to say hello. You want to use a checklist, and a checklist keeps you on track to make sure you don't forget something. You know, have you ever gone to a show and you think, oh my God, I forgot the power cord, or I forgot this banner, or I forgot this piece of equipment, right? Creating a checklist helps you out dramatically. Now, the checklist here is something that we'll be giving to you at the end of the webinar. We'll be emailing it. It's a PDF. And we're going to be emailing you a tremendous amount of collateral and forms and that sort of thing at the end of this webinar to help you. This is a checklist that we developed a couple of years ago, and it's really helped us in making sure that we bring the right materials and the right equipment to the trade shows. So, here's how a trade show works. It's sort of like a child's game of Where's Waldo. You've got a tremendous amount of people coming to the show with various interests and various economic statuses, and you need to figure out how to find the ones that fit the type of offering that you have. You know, if you're a guide and have a $200 or $300 trip for a day, that's one thing. You might have more people at the show that can take advantage of your services and want to fish with you locally. But of course, if you're a lodge and you're charging $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a week's worth of fishing, your audience probably is scaled down a little bit, and you've got to figure out exactly who is a person that can afford it and is willing to spend the time and the effort to get to your lodge. You know, how many times have you sat there in a booth with somebody thinking, my God, this is a great prospect. They're going to come this year. And then to find out just as you're shaking hands as they're leaving, oh yeah, you know, well, I'm unemployed right now. I'm living with my mother and I'm driving a 79 Vega. All of a sudden you go, oh my gosh, I just wasted about 45 minutes with this person, not qualifying them and before we got really involved in something like this. So what happens is, in any sort of sales environment, there's 3 stages. You get your leads, right, which is a bigger number, right? And the leads then are filtered down into prospects. These are people that you think economically can afford it, really want to come and do the trip with you, and then making those prospects customers. But there's some filtering that goes on during the conversation process at the trade show that you can do to help you figure out really who's a lead and who's a prospect. And it's basically some simple questions that you're asking, right? A simple question such as, when are you looking to take a trip? And if somebody says, well, you know, this will be the trip of a lifetime for me, and I really don't have the money right now, but I'm planning to save it up, and I might be going in 3 to 4 years. Well, of course, that person probably isn't a prospect, but you might want to keep in touch with them because they're a lead and they're looking to do something like that, but you don't want to spend a tremendous amount of time or put a lot of effort in keeping in touch with that person just because they're so iffy about it. If somebody is showing you interest in getting more information or staying in touch with you, or you ask them, hey, can I get back in touch with you? And they say, sure, here's my telephone number. I would consider that definitely a prospect, not a lead. Or someone that's willing to come to a special event. And I'll park it right here for a second, and we'll spend a little bit of time on a special event. I've done hundreds of trade shows, and I've got to tell you that the ones that we have a special event planned during the trade show and we invite people to the special event have been our most successful. So basically it's an after-hours event, either at maybe your hotel, in a meeting room, or a restaurant, and you need to have it the last night before the show ends, so just before the last day. And you treat it very, very special. You have invitations that you give out, you have a limited amount of people that you invite, and you want to make people feel very special that they're coming to this special event. Now, I've got to qualify this. You don't have to go broke doing this, right? You should offer a dinner or hors d'oeuvres or something, right, to give them because they're coming there in the evening. But again, you don't have to go overboard. The most profitable special event I ever saw in my life was a friend of mine that was putting it on. He had a special event the last night of a show, and he invited, I think there was 50 people that came to his special presentation, and he did $80,000 worth of sales in that presentation that evening. And the dinner, if you can believe it, was Subway sandwiches, a bag of chips, and a canned soft drink. He didn't spend a tremendous amount to make that $80,000. Now, some other things that you can do is that you really want to promote a very special package, something that is kind of over in the top of what you're offering on the trade show floor. It doesn't have to be that grand over the top of that, if you may, but it needs to be something. And also inviting your past guests, because it gets back to that birds of a feather flock together. If you invite your past guests that have either fished with you or come to your lodge, and encourage them to bring a friend, they may bring a family member, which in that case, okay, well, at least they're going to get a Subway sandwich out of the deal. But they're probably going to bring a fishing buddy who is of equal economic status, right, who has the same interests and that sort of thing. They're encouraging because they've already been to your lodge, and you can pick up a lot of new business that way. And then, of course, inviting non-competing vendors. Now, of course, if you have a lodge in Southeast Alaska, you don't want to invite somebody from the lodge just the island over. But let's say there's a boat manufacturer or a rod manufacturer, somebody that's in the the lure business or other types of things that can come to your event and kind of be that silent salespeople. And they can help you with your special guests and encouraging them to sign up for your event also, or your fishing trips. Let's talk about image for a second. As I said, image isn't just something, it's everything. And image is not just a logo. It has to do with many different things. Are you organized? If I or someone walked by your booth and just took a quick glance, would they say that it's organized? That's showing your image. Is it clean? Right? Do you keep it picked up and trash picked up and have your tables organized and that sort of thing? Are you a caring individual? Right? Are you really caring about giving somebody a great time when they come with you? Are you prepared? Do you have enough collateral? Are your tables set with, let's say, electronic media, iPads or computer screens and that sort of thing? And are you showing pictures of your lodge and maybe presentations on those? Are you educated? And you know this as well as I do. If you've got a fishing trip that's just bombing because there's no bite at all, right? You're on stage as the guide. And you really want to make sure that you're educated on the local wildlife, on the local history of where you fish, and you can pass the time just talking with people and providing them still with a great time. Some of the best fishing trips I've ever been on, really, I've caught very few fish, but I've had a great conversation with the guide and the other guests, and it was just a wonderful experience. Of course, are you safe? If I'm going to come and fish with you and I'm going to bring my grandson, I want to make sure that you're safe. And I need to see that in you, right, when I'm sitting there talking with you at your trade show booth. Are you professional? Now, professional really can fall under the guise of are you organized and clean and prepared and caring. But if you're all of those, you're probably professional. If you're wearing a shirt that has your logo on it, if you're coordinated that way in the booth with other guides and employees. Another thing is fun. Let's face it, you're in the fun business. People are spending a lot of money to come with you to have fun. And you need to be able to display that in the booth and have people think, gosh, if I come on a trip with this guy, it's going to be a great time, because that's what they're trying to get from a trip. Are you successful? Well, of course, if you're professional and organized and clean and caring, yep, successfulness is something that you're going to exude at that point. And then do you have an expertise? And again, is it an expertise not only in fishing and hunting, but in the area? It comes back under the title of educated also. So let's take a look at a booth. Here's a booth that I don't think is at a Sportsman show, but there was just so many things wrong that I decided to use this, and it's a great example. Well, the first thing I want to point out is the table placement. And the next Sportsman show you go to, look at how many guides and outfitters put the table right up front and put all their, forgive me, crap on it, and they create this barrier between them and the audience that they want to bond with and befriend. And having a table right up front will probably kill at least 60% of your opportunities setting up your booth just this way. In this particular case, there's a drink on the table. For heaven's sakes, if you don't have maybe a table sign that you can put the drink behind, put it behind you or put it on the floor. Don't put it on the presentation table that you're using. I couldn't find any business cards here. They may be in their pockets, but I'm not seeing them there on the table unless they're kind of by the pins. But again, this thing isn't really organized. There's no real visuals here except for it looks like some of the collateral that's kind of missing. Is there a giveaway? Is there a reason for someone to stop and have a conversation because they might win something? I don't see that here. And then the color of the tablecloth is terrible. Look at that lime green compared to the blue backdrop. They've got kind of their curtain pulled off to one side. It just doesn't match, and there's just very little organization. So you can kind of go through the list here. Are they organized? I don't think so. Are they clean? Well, it kind of looks clean, but except for the trash of the Pepsi bottle and that sort of thing. Are they prepared? I wouldn't think they would be if I saw them. Are they educated? They could be the smartest guys in the world, but I'm sort of turned off by what I'm seeing right here. Are they professional? Again, they could be very, very professional guys, but they're not showing it here at the trade show. And then successful, they could be, as successful as any man you've ever met. But again, you can't tell that by looking at the trade show booth. They're going to have many people that just walk by and not even talk with them. So let's take a look at a trade show booth that things are kind of set up right. When we set up a trade show booth, this is typically the way that we set it up. This is not our booth, by the way, but it's a booth that we saw a while back. Notice that there are two tables, one on each side of the booth, that are at standing height. That is perfect. And you really want to, when you're talking with someone, they're not going to probably sit down in your booth. They're going to be standing. And so if you have a table at standing height, it's comfortable for the both of you. It's not cluttered except for that one sign on the table on the right-hand side, which is not clutter at all. They've done a great job with that. They're using media or computers in the booth to show their presentations and their photographs. And then behind that table in the back right-hand side is another table, is I remember, that had all their collateral. So if somebody wanted a brochure, that sort of thing, they could give that to them. It's very, very inviting. You get out of the way of everybody else in the aisleways and you step in. Using a computer to show screens and pictures is awesome. People will get very, very curious. So you might be talking to one individual and you could have 2 or 3 people looking over your shoulder as you're talking with them. So we walk through this and we say, are they organized? Yeah, I think they are. The media's on the tables. There's the more information on the back. They've got a matching theme throughout the booth, and they're also using really good colors. The blue in there and the silver. The blue is a color that exudes professionalism, and it also is a comfort color. People like to be in a blue environment, and it just spurs on conversation. So are they organized? Yes, they are. Are they clean? Very clean here. Looks like they're prepared. They're very educated. Of course, I'm making that assumption by the way the booth looks. They're professional and they're successful. Here's a unique twist that we did at a trade show a couple months back in the summer of 2014. We were using iPads to show pictures of things that we wanted to promote at the booth. But we found an application called iPrizeWheel.com, and this thing is killer. There was a casino that had a trade show booth across the show, and they had one of those great big clacker wheels. And they have all the prizes listed on each one of the little tabs, and you spin it and go tick 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 tick, and then whatever it comes up with, that's what you win the prize with. Well, those things are really expensive to rent. And with iPrizeWheel, you don't have to do that. You can put it on your iPad. And what's really cool, before anybody spins, they have to give you their name, their email address, and their phone number, and then they spin it. I was thinking that was going to be a detraction from people. Oh, I don't want to do that just to spin. But it was just the opposite. They were more than happy to give you that information and then spin it. And then, in this case, I've set up here on this one, win a free a fish gummy bear, a lure, a free spin, a hat, whatever you want to put in there. And the most amazing thing is the cost of this app. Instead of spending $1,000 to rent a clacker wheel, this application was only $4. And I can use it on as many iPads that I wanted, and I can use it as many events I wanted for that $4. The other thing is it creates a database that I can go in then and pull out, and I can call those people. I can put them into my newsletter lists and that sort of thing. So it's just amazing. It was the best $4 I have ever spent in my life, and people really wanted to do it. Again, we're going to give you a reference sheet with all of the things that we're talking about here today. I'm not an affiliate of these companies. I don't get paid for promoting them. I'm only sharing with you what's worked for me. And iPrize Wheel we'll use over and over again in the booths that we do. So what happens when somebody comes to the booth and you create a relationship with them? And you say, hey, would you like to book a trip with me? And what do they say most of the time? They say, well, let me think about it. And in the past, it was a little bit easier to get phone numbers and email addresses. Now people are a little bit hesitant, and they'll say, well, just give me a brochure and I'll call you. And they walk away, and what you do that night is you get on your knees and pray and just say, oh my gosh, I hope they call me. And that becomes a problem, right? Because they typically don't. But they will go home and they'll think about it. And here's the way they think about it. They take your brochure, they go to their kitchen counter or to their computer, and they look at their brochure and they say, let's look at the website. The website's going to give me more photos. The website's going to give me more information. And the problem is that if your website is not up to date and supporting your trade show efforts, you're losing business. I guarantee it, because people are going to the website to find out more information. Now, I'm making this presentation today to you all that are in the Pacific Northwest and Alaska. And so for this illustration, I picked it's really a very successful fishing lodge in Portland, Maine. And I picked that because they're 3,000 miles away. They'll probably never see this. And if they do, I'll give them the same tips and tricks that I'm talking to you about. This is a very successful lodge. They have senators and congressmen come. They have business people from New York City. They really run a quality organization. And they spend a lot of money on this website. And it's nice. It's organized. Everything seems to work. But it's just kind of, it doesn't do much for the visitor that comes. If you look at a website as I do, here are the 4 things that I look for right up front. Is the phone number displayed properly? Is there a compelling reason to contact me after they come to the website? Are there pictures of not only fish, but fishermen? And is there video? And yep, I said video, right? Because video is becoming more and more important. So if we dig in a little bit on this website, if you'll notice, they have a kind of a cute way of displaying the telephone number, 1-800-99-LEANS. Well, it's Leans Lodge, and that's how they've gotten their phone number like this. And in the past, that was great because it made you remember what it is. But now most people are using what? Mobile phones, right? To make phone calls and contact people. A lot of the mobile phones don't have the letters on top of the numbers any longer. And so trying to discern what Leans is on your phone can be discouraging. And you might not get that phone call, and they might go to another lodge's site and try to set up something with them. So in this example, this used to be a really good practice, but don't do this anymore. And then, is there a compelling reason to contact them? Well, they've got this contact button, and I can hit it, and I can go in there and I can fill out my name and my address and my email address and my telephone number. But there's really no compelling reason to contact them here. And so when you have a website and you're doing trade shows, you need to put some sort of compelling reason for them to contact you so you can get their name and email address, because we're not getting as many as we used to. So having a button that says, click here to receive our unpublished fishing specials, or a click here if you forgot to sign up for the free trip drawing at the Portland show. You know, something that compels someone to click and give you their information so that you can start contacting them and turning them from a lead to a prospect. And then the other thing is pictures of fish and fishermen. Now I look at this, and of course I made a kind of a smart comment saying, well, cute fish. And I think it's a smallie. It's not very big. It might be big in that part of the world. But I'm going, so what? I mean, there's no emotion just showing this fish. You're selling the experience with a photo. And not only do you want to show fish, but you want to show people smiling and having a great time, and get someone with that emotion going, oh, that could be me. And I'm not getting it here from this site. And finally, videos. I'm not seeing any sort of videos here. Remember the old saying, a picture says 1,000 words, a video probably 10,000, I don't know, right? In this case, I'm looking at this, there's no animation, there's no video, it's just only 2 words, right? Nice bass, right? Videos used to be extremely expensive to produce. About 8 years ago, I hired a videographer for about a day and a half, and it cost me close to $8,000 just to cut the video. Now, with the video cameras built into your phone, and the technology not only in the cameras but the software to produce them has gone down, we're even seeing you can produce really quality videos for free. I said yes, it's free, and you can even host them for free. There's a program out there called Animito.com. And Animito is a video company that puts together, or not a company, but it's a system where you can take your photographs and you can put it into the Animito system and then match it up with, they got like 2,000 audio tracks, put in some titling sections on it, and within minutes have a really cool video. Let me show you something. I created this video in just about 15 minutes with some photos that I had. It matched it up with the audio, and it's really a nice video. It looks like, somebody has really spent a lot of time doing it, and in actuality it took me 15 minutes. And you can do that too by using Animito. And I'll shut this down. Isn't that cool? So anyway, you can then take your Animito video and you can go to YouTube. And the way you get to YouTube now is through Google and just setting up an account through Google. And remember, Google is free. You can set up a Gmail account there. And when you do that, you can then go in and set up your YouTube channel and have your video then uploaded and placed right on YouTube. Then what you do is you go to the share button. Just down here there's a share button, and you can get a special code and you can give it to your web person, and within a few minutes your web person should be able to post it on your site and have people looking at it. Video creates a tremendous amount of SEO. That means search engine optimization. It's good in your rankings. People will find you faster. A good friend of mine raises and trains bird dogs, and he couldn't be found anywhere on the internet. And so we took a look at his site. I don't necessarily code a lot of websites. I do it every once in a while for somebody really twists my arm. And so we put up a new site for him. And we then put up, probably 15 or 20 videos behind it in a YouTube channel. And we took him from not being able to be found at all to the #1 position in Google in the Northwest for bird dogs. And so anyway, we were very, very pleased with that. Do you have enough collateral? Right? Do you have enough table signs? Do you have enough show flyers? Do you have business cards? Right? If you don't, make sure you order those, because the last thing you want to do is get to a trade show and it's a 4-day trade show and you run out of business cards on the second day. That becomes a great big emergency. Here's another reference that we'll be giving you on the reference sheets that we'll be emailing to you. It's printkeg.com. Printkeg is a place that you can go and order business cards and flyers. It's a online service, sort of like Vista, but less expensive and higher quality than Vista. We've been using them for 15 years, and they're just a tremendous asset. We've saved thousands and thousands of dollars going to PrintKeg and getting that done. So the next thing we're going to talk about is making friends. And people are friends with people that they know, they like, and they trust. And those are the only people they'll do business with. If they don't know you very well, if they don't like you very well, if they don't trust you, you probably are not going to do business with them. So to get to know somebody, you've got to have pretty much something in common, right? Do you have is your family similar, right? Do you have other interests? Maybe you like the Oregon Ducks football team, or you like the bull. Whatever it is, find something in common along with the fishing that you can talk about. Do you have a mutual acquaintance or a friend? In regards to likes, right? You've got to exude that you're a likable person, and that they will think that, gosh, I can see myself spending a day with this guy, or maybe a week if it's a lodge, and I like this person. It would be fun to spend a week with them. And then, do they trust you? Do you have, right, their best interests at heart? Are they going to keep you safe on the water? And you've got to do this very, very quickly at a trade show, getting people to know you, like you, and trust you, and then follow up with them later, right? Now, if people like and trust you, right, if you ask the right questions, it's not about you, it's about them. And after kind of a quick introduction, you want to kind of turn the tables and ask them some questions. Tell me about your last trip with a guide. How did that go? And then be quiet and listen. They're going to tell you some really important things that they will want if they're going to book a trip with you. How many times have you been out with a guide, and what was your most memorable trip? Well, if it's, not only going out and fishing, but gosh, the dining at the last lodge I was at, it was amazing. And if they mention that, then dining is going to be important to them. And whether you have a lodge or maybe you're running fishing trips on the river, you might want to talk about, well, I provide lunch, or we provide breakfast before we go out, that sort of thing. What kind of fish do you like to catch the most? Personally, I like great big rainbow trout, and I've spent a tremendous amount of time up in the Nushagak system in Alaska fishing for big trout. And if I'm talking to an Alaskan lodge or guide and they say, wow, Ted, you've got to come out and you've got to catch a bunch of yellow eye and halibut with us. Well, I'll tell you, that sounds like fun, and I've done that. But if you have trout as one of the fish that we go after, you better be talking to me about trout, because that's really my hot button. And how has your luck been fishing the Columbia River or the Rogue River, or if you're a guide that's fishing locally? Hear about their experiences, and again, then you can sort of build on what they're telling you. Now, there's some questions that are going on in their mind that are not being asked, and you've got to remember these as you're talking with someone. They're thinking, can I trust this guide to take care of us on a day on the water? Will we have a good trip, right? If I'm going to bring out my grandson with me, I want to make sure I'm trusting this guy. And you, as the guide or the lodge owner that's having a conversation with me, you probably better underscore a little bit. Yeah, we're Coast Guard approved. We are, have been trained in CPR. Our boats are fully stocked. And I want to know those types of things. Also going through their head is, well, I've gone out with Bill, who's a guide, a number of times. How is this guide compared to Bill, right? And so if they have gone out with guides before, right, they're comparing you against that other guide, and what differences do you bring to the table? I might be thinking salmon is something I've never caught before, and will this guide be patient with me as I learn to do that? You'll find that also in fly fishing. If you're going to take somebody out fly fishing and they've never fly fished before, they're thinking, oh, wow, this looks technical. Am I going to get some good instruction, or is this person, going to get irritated that I don't know how to do this? They're also thinking, hey, the last time I went out with a guide, I got skunked and the trip was miserable, right? Is it going to be the same thing with this guide? I was on a guided trip one time. We weren't catching fish, and the guide sort of disappeared for an hour and a half at lunch as we were sitting on a riverbank as it was raining on us. It was horrid. Do you think I ever booked a trip with him again? Right? I didn't, right? And so those are the types of things that are going through the mind of the folks you're talking to. And then, is this trip going to be expensive? I sure hope if I hire this guide or book a trip at this lodge, I'm going to get my money's worth. think about that as you're talking with them. Now, I get hired out and have for years to come and do sales training and marketing training for various industries. And one of the key components I hit on every single time is this concept. And it's a 2-question concept when you're talking to someone that's a lead and possibly a prospect. Here's the question. It starts out with, right, other than a fair price. Now, of course, you don't say this right up front as you just shake their hand. But after you have a conversation with them, you can ask them, look them straight in the eye and go, other than a fair price. And the reason we start out with other than a fair price is I want to take the price thing off the table as I'm talking with them. And when I say that, then they're assuming, oh, Ted's going to give me a fair price. So we're going to set that off to the side. Other than a fair price, what would you expect from me as your guide? And then be quiet. And they're going to tell you something. And it probably is not going to be as relevant as you think it is. The first thing they tell you is just kind of the first thing that pops up in their head. Well, I'd expect to catch a lot of fish. Or I'd expect to have a good time. Whatever they say, the next question is the most important one. It's, of course, that would be important to me too. So if they say, I need to catch a lot of fish. Well, of course, that's important to me too. What else would you expect? And then there'll be some silence. But what's going to come out of their mouth next is going to be the key probably to booking a trip. It may be, well, if I'm going to go all that way, I not only want to catch salmon and halibut, I also want to fish the rivers and get some great pictures of bears. Ah, okay. So the rest of my conversation is going to be on, well, our fishing arrangements put you in a position where you can catch, 8 species of fish, and we'll take, little side trips off to make sure you get the pictures of the bears that you want, and you just have a great time with us. And so remember that first question, other than a fair price, so you take that off the table, what more would you expect, right? Or what for me as your guide, no matter what they say, of course, that's important to me too. What else would you expect of me? That's going to be the key. And I would write that down somewhere if somebody told you, gave you an answer to that. Here's a great book on sales. It's called Story Selling. If you go back in history, all the way back really to the beginning of time, in the Bible they have parables, and that's really a sales story on a concept or a belief, right? And so selling with stories has been around forever. People are very, very responsive to that. And so reading this book, it's a great read. It's very quick, and you'll pick up a lot of good information. This, of course, is on our resource sheet also that we'll be emailing out to you. Another book is really for you, the business owner. And I read this book. Actually, I read a book similar. It was called The E-Myth. This one is called The E-Myth Revisited, back in 1989. And then Michael Gerber, the author, came out with the E-Myth Revisited about 10 years later. And it's basically the same book. I have given out in my career, because I do consulting and lots of things like that, I'll give this book out to my clients. And I'll probably have given out 200 of these. And I venture to say I have never had anyone not call me back after reading the book and say, that is the best book on business I have ever read in my entire life. Whether you're a restaurateur, you own a mortgage company, you're a retailer, you're a guide or a lodge owner, this book is amazing. And if you pick it up at Amazon or wherever else you pick it up, it's even available on audio. You can listen to it on your cell phone. I guarantee you that'll be the best read that you've ever had. In fact, I'll even go as far to say, if you go buy the book and you call me or send me an email after you read it and say that book stunk, it didn't tell me anything, I'll give you the $14 back that you paid for that book. Because again, you're going to think it's probably the best thing I would think that you've ever read as a business owner. So Let's talk a little about becoming a friend. Another way is to give them a gift. A gift is not a flyer. A gift is not a business card. A gift isn't an entry into a drawing. It's something special, something you probably don't give to everybody that stopped by your booth. It's not the candy dish that everybody grabs stuff in. But if you're talking with someone and there's some interest there, you go, hey, I've got something. We made up some lures, last year, and I've got a few of them left with our logo on it. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you today. Here, would you like one of these? Who's going to turn that down? Or, here's a book on fishing. You can go to Amazon. You can go to a lot of the publishers out there. I've got a book right here on my desk. It's Here's How to Bait Fish for Trout. And it's about a 30-page read. It's just a little a book. It was written by a guy by the name of Terry Sheely. And if I gave that to someone at a Sportsman show, that after we got done talking about trout, whether they bait fish for it or not, they're going to think I'm a pretty good guy. Keychains, tchotchkes, other types of things that again, you can give to people. It endears them to you, and the next time you talk to them, it'll be a very, very warm conversation. So, how to promote your business. Remember Al Pacino in Scarface? He pulled out his machine gun and he said, "Say hello to my little friend." Sorry, it's a bad rendition of that. But what this is a QR code. And a QR code is the marketer's little friend. It's amazing what this thing does. Let me give you a little bit of history. It was developed by the Toyota Motor Corporation back in the 90s because they were running out of barcodes to track all of the parts on their cars. And so they had to figure out another system so that they could have a unique code for each one of the parts. And that's when they came up with this QR code. A barcode stores about 16 bits of information. This particular code stores over 3,000 bits of information, and there's so much that you can do with this. It is absolutely amazing. Now, you scan these with your mobile devices, and then it brings up websites or forms or synopsises. It brings up all sorts of things you can do with this. And a lot of people will say when they look at that and they go, "Oh, Tad, these are what the kids are doing." Well, there was a study found that the people that scan QR codes, 61% of the time, are affluent, middle-aged men. Think about that for a second. Affluent, middle-aged men. And who do we want at our lodge or in our boats? My guess is one of the target markets for you is affluent, middle-aged men. And so if you're not addressing this with QR codes, it's important that you think about it. Now, as I mentioned, QR codes are used to link to websites, link to mobile applications, book a trip. You can have this on a flyer or in your car or whatever else, and you can take a particular QR code and it goes right to the book a trip section on your website. They can look at your online brochures. There's just all sorts of things you can do with this. Most people, though, will take the QR code and they'll link it right to their website. Now, there are people out there that will charge you a couple $100 to set up a QR code. But you can go yourself to a website called qrstuff.com. And qrstuff.com will allow you to produce your own unique QR code for free. There is no cost involved. Now, granted, they're going to probably try to sell you on a professional version for $10 or whatever else. There's no need to do that, right? qrstuff.com is where everybody kind of goes to get their QR codes, and even the guys that are charging you $200 to do these go here, and of course it's free, and that's on our reference page that we'll be emailing out to you. If you don't have a QR code scanner on your phone, if your phone is over 2 years old, you may not have it on it. Most of the phones going out now have a QR code scanner built into it. You can go to scanme/download on either an Apple device or an Android, which is 98% of the market out there, and you can then download a QR scanner for your phone. Where do you put it? You put it on everything, right? You have it made up on for your truck on a magnetic sign. When you scan that, it automatically with your phone goes to a website, and then it's logged there. And so people can go back to your website very, very quickly just by looking through the things that they've scanned with their QR code. And so it's like a brochure that they never lose, unless they lose their phone, right? Luke Skywalker, right, has a QR code on his business card. I'm making a joke there. Luke is from Star Wars. But the QR codes really need to go on everything because lots and lots of people are now starting to use them. But I got to caution you. Sometimes QR codes can backfire, and I see this all the time. This particular QR code is linked to our buddy at Lean's Lodge, and if you scan it on a computer, then you get the website. If you scan it on your mobile device, look what comes up. Kind of a mess. It is the same website, but the telephone number is missing. There's no photos. How do I contact anybody? This particular site is not formatted to handle the smaller screen sizes that people are using now. And so when a QR code backfires, you want to check your own site before you use it. Talk to your web guy. On a lot of websites that have been designed, there's a button in there on the webmaster side where they can make it responsive, and it'll shrink the website down and make it a little better, and at least it's readable on the mobile device. If I had something like this come up, I don't have a phone number, I don't have anything that I can look at, and I'll go on to the next person at that point and sort of move on. Ask your web guy if the site can automatically resize, right? And then also look for your videos and pictures. Sometimes they don't show up because they use a system called Flash, and you really need to address that. But those things typically can be addressed fairly easily by your web person. Here's something that's amazing. CNN did a study in February of 2014, about 8 months ago. They found that only 45% of web searches are now being done on PCs. 55% of those web searches are being done on mobile devices. And so you've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on your website only to have something like this come up, you know, in the majority of time. It's something that needs to be addressed because this is the way web searches are going. Now, another way that you can address this is you can get what they call an app made. And an app is similar to a website, but it sits resident on a cell phone, and it takes advantage of all the cool things a cell phone can do, such as automatically call you, share you on social media. You can use the GPS function. I'll show you some things that mobile apps can do. But they're really a cool way to promote your business, and particularly if most mobile or most website searches are now being done on mobile devices, you need to address this. And the way you can tell it's an app typically is that an app, when you scan the QR code, creates this icon on your phone that's a hotkey. And so you just, if I wanted to go to this site, I just simply click here and then this would come up. So QR codes can drive a tremendous amount of business and put apps on phones that are there for perpetuity, and have people reference you that way. Your QR codes then need to kind of go on everything. Put them on your table signs and your show flyers, your business cards. Here's an idea. At the end of the year, or the end of the season, like where we're at right now, you might want to do a thank you card with a small gift. And this guy was sending out a whale's tail made of jade. You can get those really cheap. And then he created a card showing the shows he was going to be in. And then he used his QR code and said, hey, download our app, to get his past customers to have their app on their phone. The follow-up then is, when you're got done with the trade show, you've got a lot of business cards or sign-up sheets with telephone numbers, email addresses. And at first, you know, you're going to go through and cherry pick and call the people that you think are prospects that never signed up at the show. But after you've done a few shows, you've got a tremendous amount of leads that you're trying to follow up with. And let's face it, you're busy. You're doing trade shows, you're setting up for the next season, you're taking care of guests, you're fishing, right? There's all sorts of things that you are doing, and it's taking away from the marketing of your business to people that kind of raised their hand and said, you know, I'm kind of interested in this. You should follow up. So taking advantage of some of the new technology out there and taking these leads, and at the end of each show, or if you use like that that clacker wheel, the iPhone wheel, where you put in the name and email address and phone, it can automatically then dump into a system like MailChimp or Aweber or Constant Contact. And what these are kind of like mailing services. And you put your information in, and then they'll send out a systematic email or a systematic newsletter automatically for you every month. Now, MailChimp.com is probably one of the most popular out there, and the cool thing about MailChimp is it's free, and you heard it right, that it's free. It's free up to the first 500 contacts that you put into it, and then after that they start charging you, which is only fair after that. Aweber is sort of a MailChimp on steroids. It does all sorts of amazing things. It's not a free service. It starts, I think, at $20 a month, up to about 2,500 contacts. But you can do surveys. You can, say, click here and get more information. It's really amazing what you can do with the Aweber. And then there's another program out there called Constant Contact, and they've been around forever. They do a great job. Constant Contact has some great templates that you can use for newsletters and formatting emails and that sort of thing. And so it's just a great way to stay in contact consistently with people, sort of on autopilot, so that you don't have to. So this is the end of the webinar, and I promised at the end of the webinar that I'd give you a 10-minute talk on something that we've developed specifically for guides and lodges that can make your marketing life much easier. Now, when we developed this product, we kind of asked ourselves these questions, or we wanted to hit these points. And basically, we wanted to give you a decisive plan or a goal for each trade show you do, give you a track to run on, so that you can take advantage of all the leads and prospects that you can handle. We wanted to make a service or make your service or your lodge stand out from all the rest. How do we make you kind of look like that premier organization that really invests in their business, that's doing just really neat things for their clients and potential clients? We wanted a system that when you gave somebody something, they would feel it's a gift. It's just not a marketing piece. And I think we've accomplished that with what we're going to show you here in a second. Something that promotes your business through 3 different means of technology, and then sets up communication and follow-up on autopilot. Over the last 5 years, what I have been doing is I've been in the tech business, and we've been developing custom applications for mobile devices for a very varied amount of customers. We've done it for the restaurant industry. We worked with A&W. We've done mortgage companies. We've done bed and breakfasts. We've done all sorts of things. And about, 8 months ago, a friend of mine who's a guide wanted us to put together an app for him. And we started having a lot of fun with this. And that's what we're bringing to you today, is this completed project that we're extremely proud of, that works on Android phones, works on Windows phones, and works on Apple devices very, very nicely. So you're saying, well, why do I need an app? Well, apps are the way of the future. Apps are the way that people will start interacting more and more with the internet. Remember, 55% of all internet searches are done now on mobile devices, and most of them are done through using apps. And by the beginning of next year, 81% of all U.S. cell phone users will have smartphones. So it's an important thing to address. In regards to apps, if you don't have a mobile phone or a smartphone right now, most of us have anywhere between 40 and 80 apps on our phones. We use them on a daily basis. They're just a part of a way of doing business. And remember that a fluent middle-aged male, I guarantee you, is using a smartphone. That's the people that you want to reach with your application. So we have our trade show, and we have this application. And some people would then say, well, wait a minute, how am I going to get these people to download my app? It's just an advertisement that they're going to have on my phone that promotes my business. Well, most apps are like that, but this one is not. This one is actually a gift. Because if you download this application on your phone as a fisherman, you get a lot of useful tools that you'll use over and over and over again. People will not get rid of the application or your application on their phone. Let me explain. We have about 9 or 10 different screens, depending if you're a guide or a lodge, that we set up for you. And here's some of the little thumbnails. I'll go through them. First off, we put a home page, and this home page automatically comes up when somebody hits that little button, and this then is what they see. We create a hot button for the call us, so if they want to call you really quickly, all they do is hit call us and the phone dials it for us. If they hit the share button, then they'll share your application with everybody that's on their Facebook page. And so your app can grow virally just by encouraging people, hey, you like the app? Yeah, well, why don't you share it? Well, how do I do that? Hit the share button and then hit Facebook, and it'll go to all of your Facebook friends. And again, that's how you can get the word out exponentially on this. There's also a More page. And in the More page, there's testimonials, there's videos. We link it up to your YouTube channel, submitting photos, synopsis. I'll go through some of these in just a second. So on the front page, there's a button called Book a Trip. And if I wanted to book a trip with Jason, who's the guy that is with Hotline Guide Service, you go in here and you fill out your name, your telephone number, your email address, what you want to fish for, the date you want to fish, and hit submit. And Jason then is automatically emailed and gets a text message that this person wants to book a trip. And so it's a really great tool if somebody's out for lunch or running around and they go, I'm finally going to book that trip. They can do it right on their phone, and then you can contact them to get the information. Now, we also have the option of setting up credit card processing, and we can actually even take Visa, MasterCard, and Discover Card and American Express right on this application also. There's fishing reports. Now, you can update the fishing reports yourself. You can go into a website that we have, and on a weekly basis or even daily basis, you can go in there and type in how you did, what you were fishing for, what river you were fishing on, whatever the details were, and then this updates the app on a daily basis. It also updates your Facebook page for you automatically. When you do this, it's posted to everybody's phone, and so if somebody is curious about fishing Southeast Alaska and you've got a lodge up there and are updating this, they're going to go here periodically just to see how the fishing has been. There's something called Submit Photos. This is really, really powerful. When you have people in your boat or have people at your lodge and they're taking pictures with their phone, like most people do anymore, when they take a good picture, you might tell them right now, well, hey, will you send me those? Well, what's the chances they're really going to send you those photos? Some people will, but most of them won't. Well, the application that's on their phone they're using to take the pictures with has a function called Submit Photos. And they can hit that function on the app. All the photos come up that they've taken, and then by selecting them, they'll automatically email them to you, so you can use them on your website, on your gallery. There's all sorts of places that you can put those. There's also something called a Meet Me function. Now, for you guides that fish various rivers and bodies of water, and you're meeting people to pick them up at marinas or waysides or ramps and that sort of thing, we go in and we put in those ramps and marinas and waysides for you with GPS locations. And when somebody says, well, I don't know how to get to the Deschutes ramp, which in this case is that purple little pin there, well, all you say is go to my app, go to Meet Me, click on that purple pin, and then the phone will give you turn-by-turn directions from where you are. I'm in Eugene right now. That's why I got that Eugene blue button, all the way to, in this case, the Deschutes ramp that this guide can meet me at. Very, very powerful. How many times have you told somebody where you're going to meet them, and then they're 2 hours late because they went to the wrong place? There's also fishing regulations, and they're the full synopsis. We put in to your application every state that you fish in. Currently we have Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, Idaho, and Florida in our app, and we're adding more and more as the days go on. And so no matter what state you're in, the synopsis will be there. In the state of Oregon, for instance, you hit the state of Oregon button, and then it says what unit are you in, Columbia unit, Willamette unit, that sort of thing. Hit that, and then that portion of the synopsis comes up. The same in Washington, same in Alaska, same in Idaho. It works all the same way. And we also help you build your email list. And you can go in and you can set up these different forms based on, well, you know, you didn't sign up for our free trip at the Eugene show. It's now on your phone, and they can go in at their leisure and go, you know, hey, I didn't sign up for that to win that free trip in Eugene. I'll put my name and information there. Now I can put them into my drawing, but I also have their name and email address, and I can start following up with that person, because at that point I think they're a prospect. And you can add those people to to your email list, and then they can start getting your newsletters and emails. Now, here is the killer thing about having a particular app on people's phone. The FCC says that if you have an app on your phone, the owner of the app can send you something called push messages. Push messages are not email messages. They're not text messages. These messages come over the top of anything that the user of the phone is doing, and they're like a text message. They're very, very short. And in this case, we sent out this push message from Hotline Fishing. Says, hey, we're killing them on the Columbia. We have dates still available next week, right? That's all you need to say. The person on the left had the Hotline app open, and that's where that push message came from. This next person was looking at college football scores when that push message came in. The next person had their text message open on their phone, and that's when this message came over the top. And this person, their phone was just sitting on their desk, and the text message came in over the top. Unlike an email that's only read 30% of the time, or a text message that is read about 80% of the time, these are read 100% of the time. Now, you don't want to misuse this, and you want to be very strategic and cautious as you send this out, and not send it out on a daily basis. I've even seen people that will send this out on an hourly basis, and people are just going, I'm going to unsubscribe to this thing, right? And they take the app off their phone. So be strategic. Use it, you know, sparingly, because it's extremely powerful. So, in a nutshell, we design a custom app for you. It takes about 2.5 weeks for us to build that out. We build it out in Apple and on Android, and a version called HTML5, which is pretty much everything else. We link it to your Facebook page. We put in the hot buttons for call us and share us, and we put in all the tabs that we just talked about. If you were to come to my company and say, hey, Ted, I'd like you to develop out this app, we would charge you over $1,600 for something like this. We've built out apps before that are $7,000, $8,000, $10,000. In this particular case, with the functionality that I just showed you, it'd be about a $1,600, $1,700 application. We'll also then go in and set up your QR codes for you. Now, of course, the QR codes can be set up for free on QR Stuff, but we'll do it for you, and we'll add some tricks that we know. Such as how to set up a QR code that works both on Apple and on Android devices, so you don't have to have two QR codes. And so we set those up and we give those to you. We also right now include what we call the trade show package. And we'll have our designer design out a table sign for you, a flyer for you, and a business card. Now, you'll need to get them printed, but we'll design it out with the QR codes and set it up in such a way that it's a really good marketing piece. And then if you already have a Facebook page, we'll provide you with a Facebook page facelift. Or if you don't have a Facebook page, we'll set one up for you, because the app and the Facebook pages can communicate back and forth very nicely. In addition, we'll pre-write 12 emails that can be sent out to your potential clients or prospects that you get at your trade shows. And we'll set up the MailChimp for you and set up and monitor that and send those out on a monthly basis, so that you don't have to. As you get into the busy season, you're still communicating with those people that you got leads. We'll do it on an autopilot basis, and we'll even give you a lead capture system for your website where you can give it to your web person, and then they can install it, and you can offer your newsletter or giveaways and create the database from there. The other thing I'll personally do is I'll do a complete top-to-bottom website review. I'll go through all the pages on your website, your links, and I will give you ideas on how to set up the page a little differently to take advantage of some of the traffic that the app is going to send you, and just how to monetize your website a little bit better so that your web guy can go in and make some changes and you can get some better results out of your current website. The trade show package alone, if I was to do that for you, would be $997. Now, with a mobile device, there's also hosting, just like there is on a website, and we offer two versions. We offer a basic version and a deluxe version. The basic version, we give you unlimited email and phone support, unlimited push messaging, those are those messages that go out, and we give you access to the dashboard where you can go in and add your own contact, add your messages, update your photos. There's lots of things that you can do in there, and that's $97 a month for the basic. Now, we have a package coming up I think you'll be blown away at and what we're offering to you right now. But that basic plan is $97, typical retail. The deluxe plan is really where we do it for you. We go in and we update your fishing reports for you. We send out your push messages. We update your Facebook. We do your newsletters. In other industries that I'm involved in, we charge as much as $300-400 for something like the deluxe plan. Our plan is $197 for that. The value of this package, if you take into consideration the cost of the mobile application, the trade show marketing package, 4 months of the deluxe service is $3,480. And that's a value all in itself. But what we're offering to the first 30 guides, and right now we only have 20 of these packages available at this price, we're offering it to you for a one-time payment of $997 or 4 monthly payments of $297. This is about a $2,500 savings. Then what we're going to do is we're going to offer then the monthly support package. We'll offer the deluxe package instead of at $197 a month, starting in the 4th month, because remember you got 4 months of that with the package. We'll offer it to you for $79 a month. We'll do all of the fishing reports, push messaging, Facebooks, and newsletters. You will have input into all of that, and we don't send out anything without your approval, but we're offering our services to do that. And again, this is only for the first 30 guides and lodges that they'll get all these packages for this price. So the way that you can take advantage of this offer is you can go back to our website where you signed up for the webinar at marketingforguides.com. And if you scroll down, you'll see a $sign and it says click here. If you click there, you'll be taken to another page where this offer is reiterated. And then you can select either option 1, which is the 4 monthly payments of $297, or the option number 2 for $997 for the full amount. I'm hearing some dings. It sounds like some of you are signing up as we speak. And thank you so much for that. When you go there, you can hit the select button, and then it takes you to a fully encrypted site where it's going to ask for your credit card, and it's all secure and everything will be set up, after which within about 24 hours you'll get a phone call directly from me that will go through a consultation and start with the setup of your site. So anyway, I want to thank you again so much for attending this webinar today. My direct telephone number is 503-380-8012 if you want to reach me. My email address is also here. We're a Eugene-based company. We've been around for quite some time. We support hundreds of these applications. We have a graphic designer and a web designer on staff full-time with us, and myself who manages everything. I think you'd be very, very impressed if we can do business with you. Looking forward to that. Again, I'll be watching my email. If you have any questions or concerns as this afternoon goes on, please feel free to reach out at any time, even after today, and I'll be glad to answer those questions for you. Have a great day.